Hey Mueller junkies, thanks to Skillshare for supporting Mueller, She Wrote this week. Skillshare is offering Mueller, She Wrote listeners 2 months of unlimited access to over 20,000 classes for just 99 cents. To sign up, go to Skillshare.com/AG. That's Skillshare.com/AG to get 2 months of unlimited access of over 20,000 classes for just 99 cents.
So to be clear, Mr. Trump has no financial relationships with any Russian oligarchs.
That's what he said. That's what I said. That's obviously what our position is.
I'm not aware of any of those activities. I have been called a surrogate at a time or two in that campaign, and I did not have communications with the Russians.
What do I have to get involved with Putin for? I have nothing to do with Putin. I've never spoken to him. I don't know anything about him other than he will respect me. Russia, if you're listening, I hope you're able to find the 30,000 emails that are missing.
So, it is political. You're a communist.
No, Mr. Green. Communism is just a red herring. Like all members of the oldest profession, I'm a capitalist.
Hello, and welcome to Mueller, She Wrote. I'm your anonymous host, AG, and with me, as always, is Jaleesa Johnson.
Hello.
And Jordan Coburn.
Hello.
Hello. And we do have Politicon in a couple of weeks at the LA Convention Center. We'll be doing a live show and recording the weekly pod from our booth, so grab tickets online now. Our live show will be Saturday, the 20th at 3 p.m. But after Politicon, I'm taking my first vacation in a year. Going off the grid, I need to take some time before we get back for the election. And we're planning to do a live broadcast election night. I don't know how we're going to do that, but we're going to...
I have some ideas. We'll talk about it, yeah.
We'll make it happen, and we'll have more details on that for you as it approaches. So you can spend your election night with us having wine. Yay. We have a very Mueller-centric show for you this week. We've been focusing a lot on Kavanaugh these last couple weeks and how that impacts the Mueller investigation, but a lot of important news dropped this week surrounding the Mueller investigation. We have Scott Dworkin coming on to tell us about the report that the Dem Coalition filed this week about Lindsey Graham crackers. And we have Scott Stedman with us to discuss a major story he just broke about Simona Mangiante. That's Papa Dop's weird-ass fiance.
Nice.
That sounds like a rap lyric.
Papa Dop, yeah.
Simona Mangiante, Papa Dop's
her
weird-ass fiance. You don't want to miss that. So we have two Scotts.
Hey, Scott!
It's the Scottisode.
Double dose of Scott, yeah.
Double dose, two Scots for double dose of pimpness.
That's squared. I'm excited to hear about his wife.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. Also this week, Jaleesa is going to give us another update on Eric Prince and the Seychelles. And Jordan has some shocking shit that Devin Nunes tried to sneak by voters. I'm going to talk about the new email hack that was just referred to the Mueller investigation, to the special counsel's office. But before we get to the news, we have a hilarious correction from our Brexit minisode, I think. And the pronunciation of the word checkers.
Yeah.
We sat around like douchebags and tried to make it super French.
I think I win the douchebag award on that one.
I like it, though.
I said shaker.
Yeah, and then I asked you to spell it, and you had the French thing in my head. So when you spelled it, I was like, yeah, I guess that's Shakira.
Exactly. Shakira.
So it's just pronounced checkers. So there you go.
Yeah.
It's so fitting that we were douches.
We're overanalyzing
Le
it.
douche.
Le douche about, well, that's a shower in France. It's a little different.
Yeah, it is.
Avec
Yeah.
un douche.
No, that's true. Yeah, it's just a shower. Yeah. For them.
Yeah. That's my basic French, and I never took French, but I know it.
Le douche des vagines, I think is what it's called.
Twat showers.
I forget how you say vagina in French. They didn't teach you that in high school, surprisingly.
I wonder why.
Yeah.
We have a lot of news to get to this week, you guys. Let's just get into it with just the facts. So Sunday, we found something out about Devin Nunes that could seriously hurt his chances against Andrew Jans if the voters find out about it in their district House race. And Jordan will have the details about her ex-boyfriend later in the show. You guys broke up, right?
Oh, yeah, we're done.
Cool.
Good for you, man.
Yeah, man. Way to walk away.
Thank you.
Also,
it was hard.
Yeah, I bet it was. Also Sunday, the New York Times dropped a story about migrant children being moved under cover of darkness to a Texas tent city from Kansas. This is seriously some shit out of a movie, you guys. They were loaded onto buses and taken to a camp in West Texas in the middle of the night, basically, to this place in the desert. Prior to Trump, most migrant kids were housed in private foster homes or shelters with two to three of them to a room, and they got formal schooling and nutritious meals along with regular visits with legal representation, people who are assigned to their cases. Now they're being bussed in the middle of the night to beige tents, 20 to a room, no school, and limited access to legal services. The feds are now detaining about 13,000 of these children, 5 times as many as the year before on average, so don't pull that Obama did this shit with me. They're being detained for an average of 60 days. Several shelter workers say that these moves are carried out late at night to avoid escape attempts.
What?
And that just sounds chilling. And these kids are given little to no notice of the moves because to avoid escape attempts. Again, these kids wear belts with their phone numbers stitched on them of their emergency contacts. This shit is happening.
How is this not a concentration camp by all measures?
It seems to look like an internment camp to me.
If you Google it, it just says it's a camp where you keep people of a certain group, or ethnicity, or color, and you just hold them for political reasons.
Yeah, just like summer camp.
Yeah, just like summer camp.
Yeah, so this is really gross, and it's still happening. We need to keep remembering that because it's not going away. It's getting worse. Monday, a Politico reporter spotted Manafort's lawyers, Richard Westling and Tom Zenley. Mm-hmm. They were outside talking to Andrew Weissman, one of Mueller's lead prosecutors, and they were outside the special counsel's office in downtown D.C. Manafort was apparently inside meeting with prosecutors after he pleaded guilty and signed a cooperation agreement for full cooperation, by the way. Sentencing for Manafort is not yet scheduled. But there's a joint written report from both sides that is due to the court November 16th. By November 16th. They usually turn it in on the day it's due. And I think that might give us a glimpse into when we can expect the collusion indictments to drop. And then Manafort, his sentencing can be scheduled. And
yeah.
In either case, Manafort is fucked. All right.
That was pretty good.
Yeah, I'm so
good.
flat.
You wavered a little.
Yeah.
You went sharp, actually.
I am no singer, but I'm just glad to be a part of the group, guys. I'm like the Ringo or the Jermaine. That's cool with me.
We'll have a movie called Pitch Imperfect. We're going to go on tour.
I love it.
It's going to be a cappella.
I am human. Well, some humans can sing really well.
At least they know we're not using auto-tune or something.
That's true, yeah.
It'd be really funny to just drop that in one episode and edit T-Pain
Oh my
out.
God. Someday, guys.
Shorty fucked.
That's beautiful.
All right. Also Monday, Politico reported that Roger Stone associate Credico will plead the Fifth in response to the Senate's subpoena for testimony and documents. Credico is the comedian radio show host with a dog in a bag that needs, he's that guy. He's that kind of weird guy, and I was making fun of him, but people were like, no, he's really funny, and I'm like, I don't know, quit calling him a comedian. It's bad for comedians. But I don't know. I thought he was weird. Well, he's going to plead the Fifth, and pleading the Fifth means that what you say, you're not going to say something because it will incriminate you. So much for his assertion that he's just this innocent guy. We'll see if they offer him immunity to get the goods on Stone. I can't imagine they gave a shit about Credico, unless he was more than just a go-between for Assange and Stone. And even then, they're really just going after Stone. I don't know. What do you guys think? I don't think they'll...
Yeah, they just want Stone.
I think they'll give him immunity.
Yeah. Yeah, I was hoping Stone would be at a Politicon this year, but Carter Page will. So,
Yeah, I know. I'm trying to get him on the show.
Do you think he's seeking immunity?
I don't know. He's such a weird dude that it's kind of hard to tell what he's thinking. Mm-hmm. And, I don't want to pass judgment. Maybe something real bad happened to him and he needs the emotional support animal and he's got, a lot of anxiety. Mm-hmm. I totally get that. But... I don't know what he did to help Trump collude with Russia.
Right.
And if it's substantial, he should be held accountable. But also, I don't think he's important enough. I think Stone is who they're after.
Yeah.
So I think, if it were me, I'd grant him immunity to roll Stone. Mm-hmm. Rolling Stone.
It's fun seeing all the different ways people who are guilty try to get out of, giving testimony.
Yeah.
You've got
Miller holding
I was
himself
going
in
to say
contempt.
Miller. Yeah, you hold yourself in contempt.
I hold
Plead the fifth.
myself in contempt.
We got
Threaten the
Mifsud.
legitimacy of literally everything in the universe that's ever existed.
Oh, yeah.
Mifsud dying to
Yeah.
avoid. No, I'm sorry.
I was going to say, killing himself. Who knows? Hiding.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
We don't know that yet. That's conjecture.
Right.
True. Yes, that part is. Oh, we're
So
still in
sorry.
just the facts. I forgot.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
just the
I always
facts.
forget that like everyone who's listening right now, for some reason it's in my mind that you've heard and remember everything we've said for the last year, and that can't be the case. So if we skip past something, it doesn't make sense. Shoot us an email, hello@Mueller She Wrote. Say what the F are you talking about?
Yeah.
and we'll see if we can clarify it for you.
I.e., Nunes is not my real ex-boyfriend.
Correct.
Oh, yes.
Right. That didn't really happen. Then Tuesday, and that sounded like I was being facetious. I wasn't. It actually didn't happen.
Oh, yeah.
Tuesday, the Wall Street Journal reported that Trump actually directed legal action to enforce the Stormy Daniels hush agreement. According to reports, Trump personally instructed Cohen to seek a restraining order against Stormy back in February when he heard she was going to give the media interviews about the affair. Trump told Cohen to speak to his sons, Don Jr. and Nosferatu, about the legal response efforts. The Trump org has previously denied involvement in the hush agreement, and we'll see what Avenatti does with this in terms of maybe filing a civil suit against the Trump org, so we can put some beans on it.
Oh, yeah. He'll be at Politicon, too.
Will he?
Headlining with Kathy Griffin.
Jim Comey tweeted, it looks like that the Mueller investigation is in the fourth quarter now. So we're in a critical phase. With the meeting of Manafort and Mueller on Monday, there are several reports that will be due in quick succession from both Mueller and federal prosecutors just after the midterms as they move to sentence Manafort, Flynn, and Cohen, which is now the SDNY case, Southern District of New York. I agree with the experts that this is winding down now because a staffing change, if they were just changing staff, that would be detrimental to knowledge and momentum at this point. So we could have a really nice Christmas. So put some Thanksgiving beans on it.
Yeah.
Then Tuesday, a pretty weird but pretty big story came out about a Never Trumper who was hacked, whose emails were hacked, and how that incident has now been referred to Robert Mueller's team. And I'll go over that a bit later in the show. Also on Tuesday, that giant story in the New York Times about Trump's lifelong family tax schemes came out. And this report was amazing, you guys. I don't know if you read it or if you saw any of the news on it.
Oh, yeah.
But some of the tricks that they pulled to avoid paying estate tax, inheritance tax, regular tax,
black tax.
all told, they avoided like $412 million in taxes.
They were sneaky. I heard about the poker chips or the gambling chip scheme.
Yeah, basically what happened was Trump had a bill due at one of his Atlantic city casinos, his quarterly taxes, I think, and he didn't have enough money to pay it. So his dad, Fred, who is really weird looking, if you look up his picture, I don't know what's going on with his ears.
That's an understatement. Weird looking.
And I will looks shame him. I'm sorry if you don't like it.
It's temple shame. His head goes in like someone bashed both sides of his head in.
Yeah, I'm not convinced he's human, so we're like demon shaming at this point. I think.
Yeah, lizard shaming.
Yeah.
I like lizards.
It's only his soul that makes him
There you
truly.
go.
Yeah.
Yes,
If he was a good person, we wouldn't be saying any of this.
that's correct.
We'll still get emails.
So basically what he did was he sent a guy into the casino to buy 3.15 million in chips and just walked out of the casino with them.
Several times, yeah.
Didn't gamble at all. And then send another guy back to do 250 or 350 or something like that.
Yeah.
A 3.5 million all told. So that he could get that infusion of cash from his dad, tax-free, to pay this business expense.
Well, you can't print money, but you can print chips.
You sure can.
And then I'm not big on like money stuff, so when I heard this, it did sound really sketchy. But like, is there a way for you to break down in layman's terms, like by how did he funnel it? Like by taking the money and making it into chips, there's like a law that says you don't tax that kind of transaction. Is that how it works?
Oh no, he needed $3 million, and so in order to give the casino $3 million, he basically walked in with cash, bought $3 million worth. It'd be like buying $3 million worth of drinks at the bar.
Got it.
But you could never drink that many drinks, but you can buy that many chips, and then not using the chips to gamble, blocking out, and keeping them. That's a way of handing $3 million, $3.5 million over to the casino in profits. Now, you would have to pay taxes on the profits, but you didn't have to pay taxes on the gift, and
that's probably a higher tax too. Yeah.
Oh, way higher. Yeah, it's I think 55%.
Yeah.
Capital gains tax. Because you only get one gift per. Anyway, it's taxed. But that was a way that another sneaky thing they did. The worst thing, I think, the thing that really F's over taxpayers and regular people is that they were laundering money by opening a company, like a shell company, and they would buy, like, let's say a boiler for the building at like $10,000. They would say they paid $50,000 for it, and they would just pocket that $40,000. So what they were doing was they were inflating the cost of these things for the buildings, and then they were using those padded receipts to justify raising the rent on the tenants in rent-controlled apartments.
Wow.
So they were falsifying things to raise regular people's rent.
Claiming they had done more to it, but they really just took the money and pocketed
upgrades.
it. Yeah.
And they were pocketing that additional cash.
And I'm sure to them, this was no big deal. Like, I feel like this was just like business as usual. But I love the fact that it's coming out now while he's still alive, because there's a chance that he might actually go down for it. But this was his whole career, right? This is what they did, his whole life, his dad's career.
Yeah, and a lot of this is past the statute of limitations. But I think the important part here is that Trump ran on the fact that he was a self-made millionaire, billionaire, and he's not. He was given a salary of $200,000 by the time he was 2 years old. He was a millionaire by the time he was 8. He didn't take a small $1 million loan that he parlayed into $10 billion from his father. He was given, him and his siblings were given $1 billion over their lives from their father. And he was funneling it to them in a way where he didn't have to pay taxes. They didn't have to pay inheritance taxes, gift taxes, etc.
So many loopholes.
And they conned you and me and all the American people out of $412 million, $500 million almost.
Yeah.
And Trump supporters are going to be fine with it. The way Trump supporters see it is, yeah, see, he,
he's smart.
We like him for tricking the man. We like him for bucking the system. We support him for being a smart, savvy businessman.
It's true. I've heard it. Yeah.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah, but like, how
it's
do
your
they
money.
Exactly. How do you just gloss over the fact that it's to fuck you?
Well, they're a-holes. If they were in that position too, they would cheat their neighbor.
That, and people that usually do that, they're also just not good people in other areas. So I assume that their racism probably is deeper than their concern for money and tax laws. And, they're just like, this is our guy, so whatever he did, it's already done.
Yeah. And something else. Sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, I was just going to say, from the article, that's crazy to see. So you talked about how Trump was a salaried employee by the age of 3, making $200,000 or something. And then, then reading on to learn that his dad would do other things, like pay him as a consultant, as a landlord, as a property manager.
Oh, yeah.
That must feel weird as a kid. To
That's
be
his reality.
exploited for finance, like
That's what's
financial
happening to
gain
Barron.
like that for, yeah, it's
It
really,
must have happened to Fred. So, I mean, it's just something, that kind of shitty shitness is something you hand down from generation to generation.
It's true.
And that's why we don't like people who go to Georgetown Prep. This week, in Republicans Say the Dumbest Things, late Tuesday, Trump lamented, woe are the very young men in America, because it's such a scary time for young men in America. Yeah, tell that to Brock Turner. I hope that guys... I really hope guys sit around at night scared out of their minds, wondering what steps they'll need to take to ensure their safety every day. I hope that when they go to the store or walk home at night or when they're out having drinks with friends, that they have to worry about all those predatory women just waiting to drug them so we can falsely accuse them of rape. And Friday, Grassley said, there's no woman on the Senate Judiciary because it's too much work for them.
What?
Coming from a guy who hired a woman to question Blasey Ford, a guy who relies on women to do his dirty work, and amidst the Kavanaugh shit show, Grassley has to go. Grassley.
Seriously.
He complains about how it's unfair that the left paints the GOP with this old white man stereotype, and yet he continues to
be an old white man.
Justify the old white man stereotype and shore it up. He comes out with this magnificent bullshit that just reinforces that stereotype. There's women, it's a lot of work to be on the Judiciary Committee. There's 4 female Democrats.
He's the same one that said that Dr. Ford was pleasing, right?
no, that was Orrin Hatch.
Oh, okay. I get it mixed up for a reason.
Dude, all white men look the same.
All Republicans.
All
look
old
the
white
same.
men look the same. Yeah, that's true.
And then Mike Pence said in a speech this week that China is interfering in our elections in a much bigger way than Russia.
Oh.
And they're fighting to elect Democrats. This is easily and simply just Trump's way of laying the groundwork for a huge loss so he can blame China instead of himself for the blue wave.
Yeah.
Though speaking of China this week, French police are investigating the disappearance of an Interpol guy. He was the chief named Meng Hongwei, who was reported missing after traveling to his native China from his home in Lyon. Lyon.
I like that.
Actually French.
It's not pronounced lion.
Wait, Leon?
L-Y.
Oh.
Lyon.
I like it, yeah.
China has said that Meng was taken into custody for questioning when he arrived, but they didn't say why. Apparently, China has a long history of disappearing human rights activists and counterterrorism specialists. We don't know what, if any, ties this might have to Russia or Russian or Chinese and Russian efforts to dismantle Western democracies, but we will keep you posted.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, do you think that was a talking point put in their heads by Steve Bannon? Because he seems to be the one that originated a lot of their anti-China rhetoric.
That makes sense, yeah.
I think they're behind-the-scenes friends. I think they're down low friends again. Mm-hmm. Not like down low
I was going to say, what do you know, AG?
I'm not gay shaming. Then, let's see, Wednesday. Finally, Wednesday happened. Tuesday was Newsday again. And we learned Eric Prince, he had his Russian connection to Dmitriev. They were snooping around Trump land for Putin, and Jaleesa will have that for us. So they were actually kind of trolling, not trolling, but troweling, like, putting out a net and trying to fish all as many Trump people into the net as they could. Jaleesa's going to go over that later. Mm-hmm. Then Thursday, a story came out about Simona Mangiante, Papadopoulos' fiance, and how about this? She might not be who she says she is.
Oh, really?
We've talked about this. Remember when we had Seth on? Yeah, we'll talk about it in a second. Let's play that interview. And joining us today to discuss some of the inconsistencies he's uncovered is the author of the story and friend of the podcast, Scott Stedman. Scott, welcome back to Mueller, She Wrote.
Thank you so much for having me.
It's so good to have your voice back, not just on the pod, but in the news as well. It was missed dearly. So here on Mueller, She Wrote, we've always thought there was something off about Simona Mangiante, and through some pretty amazing investigative reporting, you've been able to uncover several inconsistencies in who she claims to be. Can you tell us a little bit about what you were able to find?
Sure, yeah, and I've always had the same feeling as you guys. It's been a little bit weird that she started the whole thing saying that George was going to be the John Dean of this investigation, and then, a few short months later, George was set up by our intelligence agencies, and the professor is actually a British spy. So her story changed pretty quickly, and it was a complete 180. But as far as my story, so I spent a few weeks looking into Simona and basically just picking apart her resume, her public resume, what she's told reporters. And I began contacting all of her previous employers that she said she worked for, as well as her schools that she attended. And the most glaring inconsistency in her story is she said that she was an associate for Mayer Brown, which is a big global law firm based in D.C. and New York. That was supposedly her 2007 and 2008. That's what she was doing. She was a lawyer starting in D.C. and then moving to New York. But I contacted them, and they said they have no record of her ever working there. And she tried to downplay this by saying, oh, I was a junior associate, and then now she's saying she was just an intern. So I made sure to ask them, hey, is it possible that she was just an intern or a junior associate or something like that? And they said, no, she hasn't worked for us in any capacity. We have no records of her ever being here.
Okay, so not even as an intern, not even as a janitor, she didn't even sweep up. She just was never there on the payroll in any capacity whatsoever.
Right. And there's no records of anything. She has posted, after my article came out, she's posted a letter purporting to be from one of the partners at the law firm. it's an internship offer letter. But again, they don't have any records of her working there. I suppose it's possible that she had some sort of, side deal with this partner who I haven't been able to get a hold of yet. But they have absolutely no records of her being there in 2007 and 2008.
That seems really odd. And I was reading your story, and it turns out you also had spoken to some of the family members about her. What were you able to find there?
I have. I've spoken to two of her family members and one of her colleagues from her prior work in Europe. And they basically have the same concerns that me and you and many other people have. Her story doesn't add up.
So I was reading your article, and you had also said that you had been in contact with some family. Who were you able to talk to?
That's right. I've been in touch with members of, I have to be careful here. I don't want to give away who I was talking to, but I've been in touch with members of her extended family and George's family, as well as a colleague of hers from her work in Europe. And basically they have the same concerns that me and you have and that many people have. They're very concerned that she's not who she's said she is, and that her background doesn't add up. It doesn't make a lot of sense. One of the big things that her family and George's family stressed to me was her age. When they first met, George and Simona, she was telling George's family, and even George, according to these family members, that she was 30 years old. And there's been a few articles about that. She says she's 30. Her profile for the European Parliament where she works said she was born in 1984, which would make her 34. But her actual age is 37, and she'll be 38 in a couple of months. So basically that makes, a 7-year gap of a big question mark. And she doesn't really pop up onto the radar anywhere until 2009. So we have the first 20-something plus years of her life where we don't know where she is. We don't know where she grew up, where she went to school. And it's just a big question mark. So they have the same concerns that we do.
Do you have any theories about why this is, why there's just such this big mystery? Big part of Jesus's life was missing too. But what do you, I don't know, do you want to share any theories about this? Because I'm gonna go on some wild conjecture after we hang up. But anything you would care to postulate?
Sure, yeah. I don't want to conclude who she is as a person. People have been saying she's a spy all the way to she's telling the truth, which I tend to believe it's somewhere in the middle. People lie about their age sometimes. But Mueller's team thought that she might be a spy, and she has said that. They were concerned about her work at the European Parliament and how that's basically sometimes a cover-up for spy jobs. So they had that concern. The public has that concern, and her background doesn't add up. So you can draw what you want from that, but there's a lot of inconsistencies in her story, and friends are concerned, family are concerned, and the public is concerned.
All right. Well, everyone, you can check out this story on medium.com. It's Scott M. Stedman. And also, I hear you have a book coming out. Tell us about that.
I do have a book. I just finished that contract this morning. It's with Skyhorse Publishing in Manhattan, and it's going to be a compilation of my stories as well as new and original reporting and kind of a peek behind the curtain as to how I did it, still in college for most of my reporting career, and how the stories fit into the bigger
I don't know.
picture.
I think you're a spy. I think you're lying about your age.
I wouldn't tell you if I was.
No, that's cool. I'm really glad, and we'll look for that. We'll make sure to have you back on when that book comes out. So everyone, friend of the pod, and you can check out his Primo Social Twitter feed at, what is it, primosocial.com/Scott Stedman, correct?
That is right. That's how I'm making a living right now. So I'd appreciate if people check that out. It's $3.95 a month or $40 for the year.
Super cheap and totally worth it. That's a really incredible feed. All the news that you break, it's you're going places, and we really appreciate you being on here. So thanks so much again, Scott Stedman.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
So yeah, I remember when we had Seth on in episode 44, and we asked him about his March tweet regarding Papadop being in Italy and how Deripaska's yacht was in the Mediterranean and Nastya Rybka was there with Papadop. And I wonder if that's when Papadop met Mangiante. And I have to say, I wouldn't be surprised if she's a Russian asset. Maybe one of Deripaska's women. We'll have to ask Seth when he comes back on the show. He's going to be coming back with us soon. There's just something fishy about her. Her accent's off. I'm going to go ahead and guess. I'm going to have some conjecture here. I think she's Slovakian escort agent asset sent by Deripaska.
Damn.
Holy shit, AG.
This needs to be a facet of our fantasy indictment league.
Yeah.
What country is she actually from?
Seriously.
Beans.
Yeah, big beans right there.
Big beans. Landing on your face. Sorry.
That's great.
In case you can't tell, we're drinking wine today.
Yeah, it's been a while since we drank through that.
I have my hand over the bubbly because it's so loud
Is
right
it
now.
bubbly?
Yeah.
Oh my god, that's funny.
Yeah.
You're going to take it off and it's going to go
Mm-hmm. Like Pop Rocks.
Science.
Yeah, we had to after what happened today. We just got done watching the vote. The confirmation vote.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that in a little bit. Thursday, reports circulated from the Daily Beast that a Russian official linked to Veselnitskaya is dead. He's the Russian Deputy Attorney General, Albertovich Karapetyan.
Corruptian?
Yeah. Dude. Corruption. Albert Corruption.
Nice.
Good old Al Corruption.
Oh, no.
Karapetyan.
It's like a la carte.
Al Checkers. And he died Wednesday in a helicopter crash in the forest. This seems on its surface to be coincidental, though the flight was unauthorized, and it happened in the forest in the middle of nowhere, kind of near Moscow, but not in.
Right.
And both he and Veselnitskaya are the ones who drafted a signed letter from the Kremlin refusing to help the U.S. in its case against the death of Magnitsky. I highly recommend you check out our episode about Magnitsky. I think it's episode 2. Check it out for the content, not for the sound quality. But Putin is cleaning house, it seems like. I don't know how. We'll put together a comprehensive list of how many Russians have died.
Seriously, yeah, and how
related to this and the dossier and Magnitsky. It's and the interference. He's cleaning house. Anybody who knows about it, they're disappearing.
He takes down planes. We already know he kills civilians, like regular people. Of course, he would shoot down a helicopter. That's nothing for him.
Yeah. Someone came up to me and then they had misread the headline and they're like, "Oh my God, Veselnitskaya is dead." I was like, "What?"
Yeah.
But then that's still fucking crazy, obviously.
Clickbait.
Yeah.
They do that.
Mm-hmm,
They're like,
absolutely.
Veselnitskaya, and the word dead are in bold.
Yeah.
And then it's like, fine print, a friend of Veselnitskaya.
Totally, they
worked
totally
on a
do
report
that.
she did is dead.
Yeah. I was like, I bet they fell from a top floor of a building. But they switched it up this
Fell
time.
down over
They
and
did
over
it.
again and hurt their neck real bad.
Yeah.
So it broke.
Yeah.
Why do you think he's aside from clearing house, I guess, that seems like a really close person to the center. I mean, I guess that's why
You don't want anybody who was involved in your dirty work to be able to say that there was dirty work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Damn.
I see
you
this
think
in-
would get you loyalty.
So, if I send out a hitman to kill somebody, then I would probably have that hitman killed too. Mm-hmm. Not that I would.
I've seen that with with
Please don't.
drug cartels.
Oh, we're in trouble.
Yeah, the closer you get to the king, you're not safer,
Yeah, no. And if you're asked to do dirty work for Putin, you shouldn't expect to be alive for long. Mifsud is missing.
Yeah, I guess you're kind of fucked either way if you say yes or no.
You don't have a choice.
They're usually desperate.
You don't have a choice, and you have a better chance of living if you do his bidding. But he's no witnesses.
Yeah. Rest
gotta
in
hide.
peace.
Anybody
Anybody
who
who did
could-
shitty work, that still sucks.
Yeah, anybody who could testify against him, I mean, and just to be safe, if he actually sent this guy out to do all this, corrupt bullshit, and then somehow the Americans got a hold of him, his private jet landed in Newark, and we arrested him, and brought him in. Putin doesn't want to take that chance because this guy could talk.
Exactly.
So
That'd be fun to do a mini-sode maybe one day on how culpable we think these people are morally
Totally.
under a sort of Putin-like regime.
Mm-hmm.
like the one we're under. Okay.
Yeah.
On Friday, Senator Collins made her big speech, which was just a 45-minute long hand job for Kavanaugh. And I'll talk more about that in a second. But Jen Psaki, a former White House communications director, tweeted out, quote, "Who wants to run for Senate in Maine? There will be an army of supporters with you," unquote. And Susan Rice, Obama's national security advisor and UN ambassador, replied, me.
Yeah. I heard she backed out, though. What's the case? What's the deal?
I didn't think she backed out. I thought
Okay.
she said, you know, we're.
I hope so.
Make an announcement.
I hope she's still in. Yeah.
Well, Dan Pfeiffer said, "Do it soon. Timing is everything." And
Exactly.
he's right.
Yeah.
That's why Obama won. It was that right time, right place, zeitgeist movement.
Yes.
You know, and that's why when we asked him who's going to win the Dem nomination in 2020, he's like, "I can't tell you that right now. There's no way to know because someone will have a moment, and you won't know who has their moment until the moment happens."
Exactly. Yeah.
And especially till the midterms happen, because there's some people that are on fire right now.
Oh, yeah.
Beto.
Hashtag Beto.
I'm going to make a wine pouring sound. Ready?
Yeah, let's do it.
Sounded like I was peeing.
Someone's going to love that.
I didn't.
It'll be like a ASMR.
Exactly. Yeah.
Just pouring wine everywhere.
Get some pickles.
And you guys have literally had half a glass, so if I'm acting weird, it's because I'm really trying to block out some of the shit that happened this week. So
Yeah.
I do apologize for that, but not really. So yeah, go Susan Rice. In related news, remember the ethics complaint that the Dem Coalition filed against Kavanaugh, Scott Dworkin, about a month ago? We talked about it on the pod, and how it would be Merrick Garland who would be ironically reviewing that complaint. And Jordan and I wondered if he would have to recuse himself. Here, take a listen. It's good. I appreciate it.
Do they not have any sort of conflict of interest rules?
I was thinking that, like, shouldn't he recuse himself from this case? And he might. But,
Yeah, like, I'm a bitter bitch.
but, you know, maybe not. I mean, if Kavanaugh won't recuse himself from matters coming up to the court that involve Trump, he by the way, he said he wouldn't agree to that.
Yeah. I don't think he's a bitch. Sorry, that was strictly for the alliteration.
Well, guys, breaking news today, Saturday, from BuzzFeed, and I got in a message from Scott Dworkin saying Garland is recusing himself.
Oh, nice.
High five, Jordan. Beans come true.
Yeah.
Woo.
Beans.
I spoke to Scott Dworkin about it, who said it's a sign that this complaint is being taken seriously and that it can apparently carry through despite his confirmation, Kavanaugh's confirmation. So
Damn.
we'll keep some beans on that.
Hell yeah.
Keep beans on your eyes. I don't know. Watch this beans.
You trying a new one out?
Cucumbers.
Watch these space beans. I don't know what I'm talking
That's
about.
my favorite.
All right. And speaking of fighting the confirmation, Kavanaugh was confirmed by the Senate after Senator Collins abandoned her constituency and spent 45 minutes on the Senate floor re-traumatizing millions of women, basically. She's either going to have to retire or she's going to lose in 2020 when she's up for re-election. Over 400 people were arrested this week protesting the nomination, including a whole lot of men. And my pussy hats off to you for being amazing allies. We need you, and we thank you for the support. A dipshit Republican was asked on CNN what he would tell his daughter if she told him that this happened to her and that she had 20 corroborating witnesses that the police refused to talk to. And he actually said that if his daughter had 4 friends that couldn't corroborate her story, he'd ask her to think twice about her accusation.
Oh, so he can go fuck himself, basically.
So that's what we're up against, you guys. So his own daughter. So I really appreciate the husbands and dads and brothers that are supporting women right now. You are awesome. Keep it up.
Thank you.
And I tweeted a thread this week saying that politically, the nomination of Kavanaugh is really the best, worst outcome. Because Kavanaugh is vulnerable now. He could be impeached, he could be indicted, he could be disbarred, or investigations could uncover something that would force him to resign. And I got a lot of pushback, or at least a little bit of pushback, or at least questions, saying, but isn't impeachment really hard? He'll need 2/3 of the vote. He'll probably stay. And that might be true, but my point is simple. And there's a chance, right? Think for a second. Like, imagine if they'd voted no on Saturday. Trump would then appoint another judge from the Federalist list that has the judicial temperament and would still vote to overturn Roe, impede the rights of workers and the LGBT plus community. And any of those judges from that list would find in favor of Gamble in Gamble v. U.S., as would I, because he served time, and he shouldn't have to serve time twice for the same crime. And none of those judges would be impeachable or indictable or touchable. They'd be untouchable.
Oh, yeah.
They'd likely have nothing to investigate, and that person would be there for the next 30 years, and there would be nothing we could do about it. But with Kavanaugh, there's at least a small chance that we can remove him. And a 2% chance is better than a 0% chance. So, how do we remove him? Well, first we get the Dems to investigate his past. We get them to investigate the obstruction of the FBI investigation perpetrated by the White House. But we can't even begin to investigate if the Dems don't take back the gavels next month. So we have to vote. There is no other way to do this, especially women. There are more of us, and we get shit done. And young people, this judge, Kavanaugh, will affect your rights on labor, LGBTQ plus rights, women's health care rights, and reproductive rights, and this will be nearly for your entire reproductive life. So vote. And further, now that they've got their nominee, the Republicans will be more content. They're going to sit on their hands, hopefully, in November. More of them will stay at home. And so it's like they've pulled their goalie, and all we have to do is show up for the power play and vote them all the fuck out.
Hell yeah.
And we have to fight fire with fire. And I saw on Twitter an independent man. Sounds funny.
Oh, independent.
He's registered independent.
Strong independent man.
I finally found an independent man. No, it's a registered independent guy named Evan McMullen. He said, quote, "Increasingly, I hear Dems say they must fight fire with fire and abandon norms and decency like Republican leaders in order to win. But this eye for an eye mentality will only do more damage. United Americans on the high road offers a much greater field of fire." And unquote. To which I say bullshit. Yeah. When Dems fight fire with fire, we mean to fight hard but fight fair. We need to grow a spine and fight.
Yeah.
We fight fire with fire. When we say that, we mean we need to draw fair districts for voting. We need to form PACs for large voting blocks like veterans. We need to remove barriers to voting. We need to stack the courts. We need to expand the SCOTUS by a couple of seats so it's more representative of the electorate. And when Republicans fight fire with fire, they beat their wives, host racist KKK rallies, collude with Russia to cheat, pass voter suppression laws, fund themselves with dark foreign money, and nominate assholes to the SCOTUS. So no one on the left wants to abandon decency. We want to restore it. So take your, quote, "I'm an independent and more special than you because I could vote either way," unquote, needy, self-righteous attitude and shove it up your ass. We're coming for Congress next month, and you're not going to tell us how to do it.
Woo! I love that. You know what it makes me think too when you say Democrats fight fire with fire? It sounds like you're saying fight passion with passion. Like, I feel like even though you're right about the Republicans having a different kind of fire, they fight dirtier. I think, like you said, don't let go of decency. Just be passionate. Like, if you care about these things, then prove it.
Yeah, my point is when Dems fight dirty, we don't rape people. We work within the rules to install a decent democracy.
Or if we do harass someone, they step down. Al Franken. I feel like it's just weird that
I don't think we harassed him.
Oh, no, we didn't harass him, but he has his history. Yeah. It's like
exactly.
At least we uphold our values. That's something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but we do need to fight.
Yeah, I mean, I think the Democrats are really divided on this, and just liberals in general. I was watching an episode of Bill Maher the other day that Michael Moore was on, and he got into it with a female journalist. I forget what her name was. And basically, she was saying, no, this is absurd. I imagine taking sort of the same view that person was. And Michael Moore, obviously in a very, very Moore-esque fashion, is like, no, fuck that. We need to get dirty. We need to do,
We need to win.
Yeah, I mean, he didn't say dirty, but
he did. He said, I just want to win. And some people took that as like, oh, you want to play dirty. But I think he just means let's just be smart. Like, let's stop talking and do something.
Don't cheat. Just be smart.
Don't cheat. Yeah, but if being super passionate and like flailing your arms up and being fucking crazy, whatever. Apparently that's what people want to hear right now because the stakes, I think, are really high and people are really scared. So someone that's going to, very trepidatiously sort of be like, we're running. It's like, no. Fucking
run with like all your might. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. No, I'm not going to. Yeah. No. Mm-mm. Now, I'm not saying, again, no dirty ads, no BS. Mm-mm. We're not going to take dark money donations from the NRA
or
religious
hypocrites.
Groups who aren't supposed to donate. But, put together some super PACs. Mm-hmm. Take that big money. Use it.
Yeah.
I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
Keep speaking out. Keep showing up.
Like that.
Yeah, so. Protests are huge right now for the left. I mean, I guess the Nazis are kind of picking on the bandwagon too, but
I haven't seen them out like they were last year.
Not recently, yeah.
At least not in big spectacles.
Mm-hmm.
I think there was a big women's march on January 19th this year. We'll have to check it out in D.C. Anyway, we'll be right back. Hey Mueller Junkies, today's episode is brought to us by Skillshare, an online learning platform with over 20,000 classes in design, technology, and business, whatever you need. So I'm a strong, firm believer in lifelong learning. We all need to be. Like, I finished my PhD, I'm not going to go back for another PhD, but I need to keep my skills up, right? Especially with the speed at which our technology develops, I need to stay relevant. and Skillshare helps me do that. So right now I'm taking a graphic design class to help us make better flyers and banners, and social media class for better posts and how to engage and how to track it. So, and I really wish I had Skillshare a couple years ago when I got married, because I could have taken this lettering class that I'm taking now just for fun, and I could have created all my own chalkboard signs instead of paying an in-law to do it. So whether you're like me, constantly wanting to keep your skills up to date, or whether you want to acquire a whole new talent, head to Skillshare.com/AG and get 2 months of unlimited access to 20,000 classes for just 99 cents. This is a special offer for Mueller junkies using Skillshare.com/AG. Again, that is 2 whole months of unlimited access by going to Skillshare.com/AG. You'll be glad you did. All right, welcome back. Hot notes. All right, time for hot notes. Today, Jordan is going to dish about her ex-boyfriend Nunez, but first, Jaleesa has yet another update on Eric Prince and the meeting in the Seychelles and Dmitriev. Jaleesa, I guess more emails came out?
Oh, yeah. I'm so happy about this because, like, the butthurt emails thing was, like, so big that, like, I love how there's a never-ending emails on the right side.
Explain the butthurt emails, because...
the Hillary, the butthurt email, sorry.
I was going to say, we're going to get emails for butthurt.
Good point.
Somebody was butthurt about emails.
That is so funny. So... on Wednesday, we learned from the Daily Beast that just days after the 2016 election, a very well-connected Moscow executive started pitching to Trump's people a plan to renew the U.S.-Russia relationship. This person, as you mentioned, AG, Kirill Dmitriev, is the head of one of Russia's sovereign wealth funds and is a close ally of Putin's. You guys might remember him.
I think that's a sanctioned fund, too,
exactly.
Isn't it?
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm. You guys might remember him from our reporting last week on the infamous Seychelles meeting. And so basically, turns out on November 9th, Dmitriev reached out to at least 3 more people in close contact with the Trump transition team, including George Nader, the Lebanese-American businessman who is now cooperating with Mueller. And once Trump got elected, Dmitriev said to Nader, quote, "We want to start rebuilding the relationship in whatever is a comfortable pace for them. We understand all the sensitivities and are not in a rush." So, hashtag no collusion. And then he went on to say, quote, "I am at their disposal to discuss things anytime, as I think that we can be helpful in guiding this relationship, understanding each side's well." And then he sent
like a love song.
He sent a smiley face.
I think we can be helpful in
think it's
guiding
cute.
this relationship.
It's
Sex you up.
It's such a cute little touch.
Sorry. I don't know.
No.
The Boys to Men moment.
Beautiful.
My bad.
And finally, he closed with, "My boss sends his warmest greetings, and I will see him again early next week." And guess what happened next week? Dmitriev and Putin were both at a financial summit in Peru. So, big coincidence. And then the Daily Beast claims that it's unclear from the communications whether or not Dmitriev was representing himself as the CEO of the Russian Direct Investment Fund, or if he was doing it on behalf of Putin.
Oh,
but
dude, come on.
That's a big but, yeah.
Everybody who's an oligarch, state-sponsored oligarch, is representing the Kremlin.
Absolutely.
Absolutely
Yes.
everybody.
Mm-hmm. And basically, when you say, "I'll see my boss next week," and you show up with Putin, I'm guessing that's the guy you were talking about.
Yeah.
So, yeah, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say,
Just
they
totally
all have guns
agree.
to their heads. Yeah.
Yeah. And also, according to these communications, 3 people who either know Dmitriev or have worked with him said that he has been in close contact with Putin and at times refers to him as his boss. So, there's that. Not to mention that by Russian law, Putin is in charge of appointing the CEO and supervisory board of the RDIF. So maybe hashtag some collusion.
Well, now, if we start a Russian death pool, Dmitriev's going to be my number one.
Totally. That'll be a separate league.
He's going to fall down 6 times tomorrow. And,
well, guess how many times they fall. I'm sorry, that's awful.
Yeah, that was morbid.
How many floors did he fall down? He's a crappy guy, so this one I don't feel too bad about.
Do they have 13th floors in Russian hotels? An apartment building?
Too
Do they have
risky.
the same?
We make our own luck.
Yeah.
13 is fine.
That's beautiful.
In Mother Russia, floor kills you.
Oh my goodness. So of course Dmitriev denies that he's connected or doing this on behalf of Putin. And a spokesperson for his fund said, quote, "We believe that the ultimate goal of these reports is to attack and smear those persons who are making an effort to improve relations between Russia and the United States."
It's a smear job.
Oh yeah, smear, pap smear. Sorry. Not related.
Whoa.
Yeah, that's what I think when I think smear. Not bagel, pap. Anyways, Dmitry has...
Do you say schmear or smear?
I say
schmear.
Oh, you know what?
Pap schmear.
When, when
for
it's a bagel,
or,
it's schmear, right?
Yeah, schmear for bagel.
But pap schmear sounds nice now that you mention it.
I think it's just smear. Unless
It is smear.
Isn't it named after a person? Or is Pap is his name? Pappy. Pappy McSmear.
I think you're right about the pronunciation of that one. It just sounds more fun now.
I say pap smear because
Me too.
I think the smear is the verb of what you're doing. You're smearing. You know what?
Yeah.
Hey guys, sorry.
One of those derailments.
This is a bad conversation for our male allies to have
That's
to sit
fair.
through.
That's fair. That's fair. So,
continue.
back to Russia. Dmitry has particularly taken advantage of the fact that the U.S. sanctions on Russia are just what they call sectoral sanctions, which means that they do not rule out any business cooperations between U.S. and Russia. In fact, at the Davos World Economic Forum, just 5 days after the Seychelles meeting, Dmitry went on CNBC to reiterate several talking points from the Seychelles meeting. He even praised the Trump administration for their professionalism.
How do you spell Davos? Is it Davos?
It is. So
All right, so it's not DE, like not Betsy DeVos, Eric Prince's.
Exactly. It's
okay.
an A. Yeah,
Just checking, because that'd be interesting if she had her own little
that
summit.
would. Yeah. And furthermore, at this forum, Dmitry tried to distribute a letter to several Americans in attendance, like CEOs and whatnot, and he tried to pitch this new U.S.-Russia business relationship to them, but many of them were reluctant. And one of the sources said, quote, "I don't think people in the U.S. wanted to touch it because of the specter of the sanctions, but some of them touched it anyways." So... this guy, Ari Emanuel.
Sanctions on my toes and I want to touch it. Sanctions on my toes and I want to touch it.
Oh, it's great. This
Sorry.
is one of... No, you're fine. Ari Emanuel, Trump's longtime friend and the owner of UFC, he met with... the douchebag all over.
Yeah. The UFC.
What's it called? The fighting...
The Ultimate Fighting Championship?
Absolutely. This is the guy. This is the main guy.
The one Jon Favreau wanted to win on Friends?
Yep. The whole thing, the whole agency. This is the
I've
guy.
been rewatching Friends.
Oh.
So not only is Trump connected to the WWE, but this guy is connected to the UFC.
Absolutely. And this guy met with Dmitry and Putin at the International Economic Forum last June.
What's his name? Sorry.
His name is Ari Emanuel.
Ari Emanuel.
Yes.
Oh,
We
is
talked
that
about
Rahm
him.
Emanuel's brother?
I don't know about that one.
Is he an American?
Good question. He is an American. Yeah.
I think that's Rahm. You know what? I could be wrong.
We'll look it up. We'll fact check next week. But not to mention, UFC announced this year that it would embark on a joint venture with Dmitry's wealth fund, the RDIF, as well as China and the UAE sovereign wealth funds in an effort to promote events in Russia. So, they are knee deep in collusion. They're not even hiding it.
They're everywhere.
Oh, yeah. And just to wrap it all up, there's a little hope, guys. So Dmitry's efforts to normalize trade relations between the U.S. and Russia may be in jeopardy because right now Congress is deciding what steps to take to prevent Russia from interfering in the 2018 midterms. In fact, several members have drafted sanctions bills that would impose even tougher measures on Russia, including sanctioning Russian sovereign debt, which would apparently be one of the toughest hits to the Russian economy since it annexed Crimea in 2014. So Congress just needs to get their shit together and vote yes on this because I just don't know what they're waiting for. The midterms are basically here. I feel like if they have these drafted, I can only imagine the House is just doing everything they can to prevent it from coming up in time. But it seems like they're ready.
Yes. Ari Emanuel is Rahm Emanuel's brother.
Oh.
Interesting.
The more you know, yeah.
He's the guy who was played by Jeremy Piven in Entourage.
Oh, shit.
He's the head of UFC. I should contact him if I want to get my UFC or gay porn site up. I have this idea. I'm going to tell you now. I have this idea of a website called UFC or Gay Porn. I show you a close-up picture of body parts, naked body parts tangled up. You can't tell what it is, but you have to guess if it's UFC or gay porn. Mm-hmm. And then when you guess, it'll pan back and show you the whole scene.
Right.
And the best part is it's always gay porn. So
that's beautiful.
I think it's a good website.
I'm going to invest in this.
That's really interesting.
Yeah.
Because Rahm Emanuel worked for Obama. And now he's
mixed in with the Russians.
Politician in Chicago.
So I wonder.
Mixed in with the
Russians. I'm thinking about his brother.
Oh, yeah. And that's really interesting.
Yeah. I wonder. But that's that. We'll see. As Trump would say, we'll see what happens.
We'll see.
Yeah. It feels
Next
like...
up. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Sorry. Russia they feel like a virus that's just, you keep learning the different places they've infiltrated. And it's just how much of a network is this and how hard is it going to be to actually eradicate this?
Oh, yeah.
It's big. Have you seen The Americans?
The movie?
The show?
Oh, the show. Yeah.
I was like...
I haven't seen it myself.
Have you seen The Americans?
Only Russians here.
No, I haven't.
Yeah, you should watch it. It's a really good kind of example of how entwined or kind of infiltrating the Russians are into just in America.
Yeah.
But that's old. That's 80s, 90s. That's the case that Peter Strzok exposed.
Okay.
even though, not a hero.
Have you been hearing? I haven't really been hearing anyone talking about switching to paper ballots, but I don't see why we wouldn't do that aside from the additional costs and administrative.
Well, I think it's worth it at this point,
workforce.
Right?
Yeah, considering who we voted in last time has tripled the deficit, it might be worth the money.
I think so.
But mail ballots too. But to have a paper trail is the best thing. Here in California, we do.
Oh,
We do paper ballots here.
nice. I didn't know.
But do not try to text your vote. If somebody tweets you saying you can stay home and text your vote, don't fall. You have to actually go vote. And by the way, you have to register. A lot of states' deadline is today or October 9th.
Yeah.
So do that, please.
Please. Facebook lets you register, but I don't know about that. It's a little tricky, right, with their history.
No, you can register online.
Okay,
They'll just give you the thing.
Yeah, that's how I
in
registered this year.
Yeah, and in each
Nice.
episode that we post, we're going to put a link to where you can register to vote in
Yay.
the description. So please do that. Next up, Jordan with your super sneaky Nunes and his super sneaky move that everyone in California's 22nd district should know about. That's up by Fresno. So what do you got for us?
Yeah, so 22nd District, the guy that's running against Nunes is a friend of the podcast, Andrew Jans. Vote for him, please.
Yeah, listen to that episode. We had him on. If you're interested in his platform and stuff, we've had him on. So check that out.
Yeah, he's awesome. He's the one that got that billboard that was, it was it was Donald Trump and like Putin in a leash. Nunes in a leash with... Was it Putin or Trump?
I think.
Right? So it was very Russia-centric.
Yeah, and it was very BDSM-centric as well.
Yes.
Like, damn, check it down.
Yeah.
That's sexy.
Yeah. And so that district is a huge district, obviously, because Nunes has been a champion of defending Trump. As we know, the Nunes the Nunes memo came out, and if I need to remind us all what that was, just essentially an investigation or his own shammy investigation into the FBI and their motivations between surveilling
A farmer investigated the Federal Bureau of Investigation. And if you want to know what the farmer came up with, that sounds mean to farmers. If you want to know what the pretend farmer came up with,
I was going to say, you can't even call him a farmer.
He isn't, and you're going to tell us why. This is so amazing.
Yeah, so basically, Devin Nunes, this is really important to know. We've gone over this in past episodes when we tried to determine if his N should have a tilde over it in Nunes, but it does not because it is Portuguese. So his family comes from Portugal. He has 1,000%, he is from an immigrant family, okay? That is a super big part of his identity.
Oh, yes. Hell yeah.
Super. So essentially what this article covers is it's come out that Devin Nunes has tried to claim that he's a farmer like we were just mocking him for. Turns out that he has no ties to farms in his district except for one that his uncle has, but really his main financial ties are actually just to a random winery in his district that he's...
Wow.
A winery is not a farm. I'm sorry, I know you grow grapes, but that is like the whitest privilegey farm that you can think of.
Yes.
The whitest privilegey farm. I like that. I like that name.
Yeah, and so...
I don't mean to belittle the workers that are picking the grapes and harvesting the grapes.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is that it's just not a farm.
No.
It's not agriculture to me. That's
Right.
a winery,
No.
right? Am I being crazy?
I do
Email me
not-
if I'm being crazy.
God, that's
I'll quote
really
you on that.
opening us up there, yeah. No, but so it comes out, this comes out that his family moved their dairy farm that they had in that district to a farm in Iowa, actually, into the district that, wait for it, Steve King represents.
Ooh,
so,
okay.
Yeah, so if everyone does not know who that guy is, he is probably one of the most staunchly anti-immigration representatives this country has in Congress right now. He's brutally no exceptions, everybody should be deported, that's illegal kind of guy. So this is where this guy got the fuel to go and travel to Iowa and sort of do some digging, because Nunes has not ever come out and really talked about this fact that his family's farm left the district that he's even trying to represent. Right. I say trying because he sucks ass. So this is also a really beautifully written article by Esquire, and it'll be on our show notes. So if you're not a patron, become one so you can see it. It's a great, really long article. So I'm just going to sort of jump around here to the stuff that's relevant. So essentially, article starts out with just a little bit of a history on Nunes's somewhat moderate background. He didn't used to always be the super, super crazy right-wing person that he is right now. He used to actually have some more sort of, sensical opinions on the radicalization of House Republicans. He actually said once in 2013, he called the House Republicans, quote, lemmings with suicide vests. That's intense, right?
Oh my God.
He called them that during the government shutdown
Lemmings
in
don't have
2013.
opposable thumbs. They couldn't put suicide vests on. I'm going to need to
It's
Google
true.
that. That could be wrong.
And they couldn't detonate anything either without those thumbs.
Psst.
Yeah.
That's my only response.
So then also in 2015, during another really bad House GOP infighting period, Nunes actually stood out for comments he made about how his colleagues and constituents were, quote, siloed in right-wing echo chambers and increasingly reliant on this or that conspiracy theory rather than something that is mostly true. Again, I bring this up just to paint the picture that Nunes wasn't always outwardly the crazy, crazy-ass psycho that he is right now in Congress. So, this guy that writes the article gets wind that his family actually moved their farm from California to Iowa, all right? So he goes and starts doing some digging on why he may have done that and why they are so intensely fixated on covering up the fact that they did that. And it's for a couple reasons, basically, this guy sort of discovers. So he goes to Iowa. He tries to track down his family, so it's his parents, Nunes Jr. So his dad, who is Anthony III, I'm so sorry, his brother's Anthony III. His parents are Anthony Jr. and Tony Dean. They're the ones that own the farm that they moved to Sibley, Iowa. Sibley, I think, actually is where Molly Tibbetts, where that case happened, I'm pretty sure. It's like a very rural, very agricultural-centric community and district. So they move their farm there. This guy goes to cover the story about why they're so hell-bent on covering this up, comes to discover that essentially the crux lies at the fact that this is a district that's represented by Steve King, who Nunes wound up supporting, who is super anti-immigration. That's like his probably most defining characteristic, like I said. But when this guy goes to do this article and does some digging, he gets all of these essentially just testimonies sort of from farmers who are saying if we didn't have immigrants, we literally could not run our farms.
Yeah.
We would go bankrupt. Right now, we pay illegal immigrants, sorry, that's their words. My words would be undocumented.
Right.
$15 an hour. They said if they had to switch over to people that were actually documented, they'd have to up it to maybe like $18 to $20 an hour, and it would bankrupt all of them. So the problem lies in that this is a district that voted 79% for Trump. Ugh. It's insane Trump County.
They're huge. It's huge.
Super Trump County. Super anti-immigration. And then you have all of these farmers that, for the most part, have really conservative views, but they sort of have to conceal and dampen down their opinions on ICE and immigration because they're afraid of ICE coming and raiding their farms. So much to the point we learned...
so they're kind of voting for the Republicans so that they don't have the spyglass on them and have ICE coming up and taking their workers away?
I think it's more so that I don't know if, a chicken or the egg kind of thing. That's definitely a benefit. If they're not making any sort of noise, no one's going to come and check out their farms. I think they legitimately hold conservative ideals, but the fact of the economy is that they can't afford to not employ undocumented people. So
that's got to be a weird position to be in, where you want to be conservative, but you have to employ undocumented workers in order to make a profit.
Yes, exactly. And so this guy goes, he talks to all these farmers. It turns out they're so entrenched in essentially the charade of them being, patriots and super pro-Trump, but so terrified of being raided, of their farms being raided, that they're actually starting to form a sort of NATO-like organization where if ICE comes and raids one of their farms, it'll essentially be seen as an attack on all of their farms because the entire economy, they said, would fall in their district.
You know what you can do instead of forming a NATO-type situation? You could actually just vote Democrat.
Yeah.
And stop all that from happening. And you wouldn't lose your pre-existing conditions. You'd probably get free health care and, things might go your way. It's just so odd that they have to... Anyway, I mean, I don't know. What's interesting, the latest poll came out this week. How many points did Trump win by?
79% was the percentage. That
So he got 79%. And the latest poll
Hillary
this
got
week,
11, I think it said.
holy shit. So
That doesn't sound right.
a lot.
Yeah, it was something else higher.
But a poll this week out from the Fresno Bee puts Nunes up 53 to 45 in the 22nd. 56% of polled voters approve of Trump, while 44 do not. So it seems like it's shifted quite a bit. So we needed to get the news out about this.
Yeah, I think on top of the fact that he's lying. Sorry, did I cut you off?
No.
Okay. Yeah, on top of the fact that he's essentially trying to cover up the fact that not only did his family and his farmer ties move to Iowa, he's also profiting off of somebody that he's campaigning for someone that's extremely anti-immigration in a place where his family and that whole constituency is basically benefiting off of the policies that the people he's supporting and the policies he is now supporting that he didn't used to, but because he's trying to be in bed with Trump, he's touting himself, as this super anti-immigration person when he didn't used to be. Mm-hmm. And it's like, so now he has ties in 2 districts that absolutely need undocumented people for their economy to function.
Yeah.
But he's sort of stuck in trying to dampen any sort of spotlight, like you said, being shown on those districts, because if they went and raided it, everyone would be fucked. His family would be fucked. The constituents would be fucked. Everybody would be fucked.
Yeah, so here's this guy bailing on you, 22nd District, to go to Iowa, probably because it's safer from ICE. Than California is. Fresno, it's near, not near, but it's San Francisco, sanctuary city. We have open borders here in California. It's all chaos. But what a piece of shit. And trying to keep it secret because he doesn't want the other farmers to know that he's completely abandoning them. And oh, man.
Yeah.
Sorry about your... How'd you even go out with that guy for that long?
What did you see in him, Jordan?
It was a good 8 months.
He looks like my dad. What do you want from me?
It's a good 8 months you were with that guy.
Yeah.
Good
yeah,
Lord.
no, and it's nuts too because like I said, the story, hence my ranty reporting on this, it's like really, really, really long and it's really extensive and cool. But one of the things that happens in it is this reporter, he's going and talking to these people, he actually starts getting followed. Every day he starts getting followed. This white SUV is following him constantly, and basically people start trying to intimidate him to not expose this story.
Wow.
Because if anything happened and they were confronted with that hypocrisy, they, like, Steve King would crumble, like, because they're getting kickbacks, right, from supporting.
Oh, yeah.
And, like, they looked into the campaign donations.
They probably have some sort of weird tariff exemption where they don't have to, like, there's going to be these individual veto or line item things where they don't have to pay these tariffs, or they get the markets where the other countries don't have to pay the tariffs for their crops. It's gross.
Yeah, it's crazy. And the only politician that Nunes' dad actually ever gave money to was Steve King. He gave him $250.
Oh.
Wow.
He must be doing well.
Yeah.
Thank you, Jordan. Fuck.
Yeah.
Yeah, wow, that's a great story.
Yeah, he's just a fake piece of crap. You guys need to vote Andrew Jansen.
Hell
absolutely.
yeah.
Infuriating, but great reporting.
Jan's the mans.
Yeah, who happens to be super pro Mueller, which is how it all comes full circle, everybody.
Yeah.
Nunes sucks.
And we're back.
And Jans is the best.
Absolutely. All right, today I'm going to talk about some really interesting shit that came out this week in Politico. They dropped a story called, quote, GOP operative who sued Trump says the FBI referred hacking of her email to Mueller, unquote. And sadly, like most good stories that come out of the Mueller investigation, you can't fit this into one headline or one bumper sticker
Right.
or a soundbite. Though it would be funny to try to make Mueller bumper stickers because they're so involved and so like have so many different tendrils. Like instead of saying it's Texas, not Texas, a Mueller bumper sticker would say it's Texas, not be like Butina, who infiltrated the NRA for Russia and befriended Paul Erickson, who influenced the RNC platform by softening the language on Ukraine and making Beauty and the Beast karaoke videos.
Be a pretty big bumper sticker there.
Or Calvin peeing on Make America Great Again by allowing Flynn and Copson to meet at the Mayflower with Russian officials to lift sanctions so we can build reactors in Saudi Arabia and recolonize the Middle East. What?
I could fit on the whole back of it, though, I bet.
But yeah, there's no way to sum up this week's story in Politico into a headline or a soundbite, so that's why I put it in the hot notes, and I'll lay it all out for you, okay? So way back in the spring of 2015, the night before Trump descended the golden escalator, Jim Dornan, who's a Trump guy, approached a woman named Sherry Jacobus about being the communications director of the Trump campaign. She had 2 contentious interviews for the position and decided not to take the job. She hates Trump. Several months later, she did an interview with the Washington Post saying that during those meetings, Corey Lewandowski, what a gem he is, that's Trump's campaign manager at the time, had told her about plans for a pro-Trump PAC, super PAC, called the Make America Great Again PAC, and he tried to tell her and the Post that it had no ties to Donald Trump. So days after the story broke, that super PAC was shut down because it clearly had ties to Donald Trump.
Oh, of course.
You might want to name it something else.
Yeah. As much as I'd like to believe that was a hacky as fuck name.
Why don't we call it This Has Nothing to Do with Donald Trump super PAC?
Definitely.
Around the same time, that Washington Post story came out, right? Jacobus was contacted online by a dude pretending to be a rich English barrister, saying that he had deep pockets and he wanted to donate a bunch of money to her Never Trump Republican operatives. So she's a Republican, but she's a Never Trumper. There were a lot of them, like the Washington Free Beacon, the people that Fusion GPS, or not Fusion GPS, but hired Fusion GPS.
Exactly, yeah.
To get Oppo research on Trump, and it eventually turned into the
Democrats.
dossier when the Democrats took over.
Yeah.
So these Never Trump Republicans, and here's this guy catfishing them, okay, trying to obtain personal and political information on them, likely for the Trump campaign, right, so they can get intel and Oppo research on them. And Jacobus referred this guy to Rick Wilson and Liz Mayer. They were running an anti-Trump Republican PAC at the time. But Wilson and Mayer suspected fraud because this guy was super fishy, this rich English barrister, and they stopped talking to him. Then in the spring of 2016, 6 months later, Jacobus traced a website domain in this whole catfishing scheme to a guy named Stephen Wessel, and he is a notorious New York con man. At the time, he was out on bail waiting to serve time for an unrelated fraud case. And when this scheme came to light, when she reported this catfishing scheme, this guy who was catfishing all these Never Trumpers, in the District of New York, a judge sent him to jail for violating his bail. Whoa. Like, remember when Manafort violated his bail by witness tampering? They sent this guy to jail saying, you're catfishing Never Trumpers to get political intel on them, sent him to jail. So 4 months after this Wessel guy was sent to jail in August of 2016, Jacobus recorded that her personal email account was hacked and its contents were deleted. And it couldn't have been Wessel because he was in jail, right? And oddly, around this time, Jacobus was tangled up in a legal battle with Trump because during the 2016 primaries, she had appeared on Fox News criticizing Trump, and Trump and Lewandowski replied on Twitter calling her a dummy and portrayed her as a disgruntled job seeker. So she sued them for defamation.
Nice.
So while she was publicly feuding with Trump and Lewandowski, she was receiving physical and sexual threats on social media, because that's how Trump people do. But in January 2017, her case was dismissed. And after the election, she kept in touch with the FBI as she kept sending them other odd incidents that had occurred around this catfishing scheme. And in February 2017, she was interviewed multiple times by the FBI in New York. And in November 2017, 9 months later, this is about a year ago, she turned over all of her other electronic communications related to the catfishing scheme. But on September 10th of this year, just a few weeks ago, the FBI wrote to her, Jacobus, and told her they were referring her case to Bob Mueller's team and sending any other information. If she has any other information, she needs to send it to the special counsel's office. Now, if this hack were connected to Wessel or New York or con men guys like Cohen, it probably would have been referred to the Southern District of New York.
Exactly.
But the FBI told Jacobus they were referring it to Mueller, and that can only mean one thing. It's got something to do with Russia.
Yeah.
So put some beans on that.
That's awesome.
We'll be right back. Hey, Mueller junkies, do us a favor and hop over to iTunes and subscribe and give us a rating. Then come follow us on Twitter at Mueller She Wrote. In the coming months, we're working to bring you more episodes with the goal of reaching 3 episodes each week, in addition to our book club and minisodes. We can reach that goal with 7,000 patrons, so if you'd like access to all the bonus episodes, plus great pledge gifts including mugs and tumblers, t-shirts and totes, head to patreon.com/MuellerSheWrote. We'll not only hook you up with bonus content, ad-free episodes, and gifts, you'll also get our newsletter, discount VIP tickets to our live events, and my personal show notes and citations from the week's relevant Mueller news. We love you so much, and we thank you for supporting women in podcasting. All right, you guys ready for the Fantasy Indictment League?
Yeah.
Okay, so with the news that Manafort, he's meeting with special counsel. His report is not due until November 16th. And given the Jacobus referral to Mueller, I'm going to hold off on collusion indictments and keep Stone and a rando Russian for hacking Jacobus. I think that might be interesting. Mm-hmm. And I'll stick with the financial trouble that people can get in without collusion, like Donald Trump Jr., Ivanka, and Kushner. So that's going to be my 5 there. So I've got a rando Russian, I've got Stone, Jr., Ivanka, and Kushner. What about you guys?
I've got all the kids, except for Eric and Tiffany. For some reason, I never consider including them. So I got Ivanka, Junior, Jared, he's one of the kids. Mm-hmm. And I last week, I took off a rando and I replaced them with someone. Do you guys remember? Was it Cohen?
It was Kooks.
Kooks. There we go. I knew it was a K or C. So, and then that leaves the 5th spot that I do want to mix up this week. And who was that lady that was referred? What's her name? Or the person that referred to Mueller just now that you were going over? The person that's involved with, instead of
Jacobus?
Yeah, Jacobus. So it's a guy?
Jacobus is a lady.
A lady. Okay. So there's a chance that a plea deal could come out of this.
Well, Jacobus
right?
is a victim.
Oh, there's nothing about her.
That's why I put a rando Russian on, because the person who hacked her and the reason it was referred to Mueller investigation has got to be a Russian. So that's why I put a rando Russian on.
Okay. I like that strategy.
So
I'm going to do the same
Russian
thing.
Too?
Yep.
Cool.
Before I do mine, question: do I get a point for the rando Russian for the indictments that came out this week, or no? Because they don't specifically relate necessarily.
They don't relate.
Damn.
If there is a tie, you will get a back. What do we call a retro authorized point?
I was just hoping I could profit off of the vague nature of
every time a Russian gets indicted.
Yes, profit off of the non-money we're winning from this
gets
game.
Its wings.
Weren't there some Russians indicted last week? Am I mistaken?
That's what I'm talking about.
Oh,
it just wasn't specifically about anything we talk about, really.
Right, they haven't been tied directly.
All right, fair enough. Well, in that case, I won't put on any other people that are accused of any other general crimes, I guess. I'll keep it keep it related. Okay, yeah, so definitely all the children. Eric is going to be busy. It's Halloween, so he'll be posing as Dracula.
There you go.
Doing a lot of plaster face casts for Nosferatu, people who want masks.
Yeah. Oh my god.
But yeah, okay, so Ivanka Kushner, DTJ. I had Trump on there as wishful thinking. I since realized I don't want to waste a spot that many weeks over and over again. So let's
put a rando Russian on there for the.
I'm gonna do rando Russian and Stone.
Good. Okay. All right. Good. Sounds good. You guys ready for sabotage?
Oh yeah. Yes.
All right, you guys. In a Twitter thread from Eric Garland, he outlined Senator Susan Collins' husband's ties to Russia. Her husband is a guy named Thomas Daffron, or Daffron, it's probably Daffron, rhymes with saffron, and he works for a lobbying firm, guys. He used to be the chief of staff for Fred Thompson. He was in, I think, Law and Order for a while. He's a Republican presidential candidate. He died a couple years ago. But he also took money from Russian money launderers from Qatar in the 90s. Qatar. And he was tangled up in Watergate, and the savings and loan scandal. He's real old. He was. He's not here anymore. He also lobbied for a nuclear energy group that is pushing PR that sounds a lot like the Marshall Plan between Flynn and Copson. Do you guys remember we've talked about the Marshall Plan, which is that whole Mayflower meeting where Flynn was texting Copson from the dais of the inaugural saying, we can tear up sanctions, we can go forward with our thing, and they were going to build all these reactors.
Exactly.
And Saudi Arabia using lifting sanctions on Russia so that they could help, and then recolonizing, quote unquote, the Middle East by putting bases near the reactors to guard them.
I wonder if the UFC guy's involved in that too then.
Creepy. In 2003, he lobbied for a firm representing, we're back on, Collins' husband. He lobbied for a firm in 2003 representing an offshore bank haven in the Caymans. Weird. Finally, in 2009, he lobbied pro bono for Kenai, Alaska, a historic Russian settlement thought to be riddled with Russian mafia. It's a port city. And it appears he was lobbying for the Russian homeland in Alaska with using tax-exempt churches. So maybe we want to think about Daffron, who is not registered under FARA. He's a lobbyist, and how he may be dabbling in illegal Russian lobbying. Seeing as I don't think these kinds of indictments would drop until mid-November, I'll keep my picks the same. But Susan Collins' husband is knee-deep in this.
I'm thinking early November, he's going to go on my list too. But I'm just going to wait. I want to see who gets it in between. But that's a good one. That's solid.
Yeah, our picks after the election should be interesting.
Oh yeah. Very nice.
You want to change or you can stay?
I'm going to stay.
All right.
Yeah.
All right, finally, you guys, we've been talking a lot recently about Lindsey Graham crackers and his weird behavior, along with his possible ties to oligarchs. And joining us today to talk about what he's found out about Lindsey Graham's ties to Russian oil money and potential even campaign finance violations, welcome the host of the Dworkin Report podcast and co-founder of the Dem Coalition, Scott Dworkin. Scott, welcome back to Mueller, She Wrote.
What's going on, AG?
Oh, living the dream. We're both sitting here on a Friday waiting any minute now for Susan Collins to come out and let us know what she thinks about all this, but we'll get to that in a second. I'm really fascinated by the reporting that you guys dropped this week on Lindsey Graham and his ties to some oligarchs. Tell us what you found out.
Well, we basically, to sum it up, is we found over $800,000 in Putin-linked contributions to Lindsey Graham over the past few years. So it's as of recently. On top of that, one of the donors is a Ukrainian businessman who used to work for Cyberbank, or however they pronounce it, a Putin-controlled bank that helped sponsor Miss Universe. And so he's a former executive for that company, and that may lead to an illegal campaign contribution. We also saw a fraudulent sort of investigation that was done into an illegal scheme that involved around $20 million in grant money that was handed out to one of his biggest donors, who was then arrested and convicted of illegal campaign contributions to Graham's campaign, and also for the fraud on the grant side of things. And Graham was never held accountable, and there was never really a true investigation into that. So we noticed that was swept under the rug and brought that up as well. Why this is important is everybody that's linked to Trump that really has been spouting off or been questionable in regards to how they're acting is linked to this one donor who made his billions off of Russian oil. And his name is Len Blavatnik. He is the richest man in the UK. He was born in Russia. He likes to paint himself as if he was born in the Ukraine. And then you know why, obviously. So and he's very tricky in regards to how he presents himself. But in February of 2017, I uncovered that he had given to a lot of money to Paul Ryan, Mitch McConnell. We're talking millions. To Rubio, to Scott Walker, and then to some others. But that was the majority of them. And they really have been spending a lot of time with them. And so in our report, we uncovered that after the $800,000 that was given by this Russian oligarch, it was Lindsey Graham then was spending time with him. And so we found video and photos that uncovered that. And that made us really uncomfortable because that was right after the elections. And if someone had some of Putin's money and they wanted to control it, this would be one of those guys. Because
now this is Blavatnik, right? And he's a U.S. citizen, but Russian-born. Says he's from the Ukraine. He's kind of like in that group with Kooks and Intrater, Vexelberg, and all those guys. And I guess Vexelberg's actually not a citizen. I can't remember if he is or not. But this is like what they've been referred to as a soft power group of Russian emigres who are influenceable by the Kremlin. And so do you put him in that group? And also I was wondering when these happened, because like I've noticed that Lindsey Graham was pretty anti-Trump and now he's not. And I was wondering if these kind of things happened in between there.
Well, that happened in 2015, but he did not rekindle his relationship. So the donations happened in May of 2015, where he was given $500,000 and another $300,000 in October of 2015. And then the pictures and video reveal an event from December of 2016. So it's just a very long path there, and it leads back to the fact that he was spending time with them after the election, and he was at the event with Alan Dershowitz. So it's the three of these guys. This guy has done business with Vexelberg for years, and he's part of that crew that potentially are the folks that helped interfere and attack the American elections.
Yeah, and they might have a lot of info on that since Sam Patton was taken in. But
all of this is being interviewed by Mueller, by the way. So it's reached a new height. We uncovered it in February 2017 before Mueller came on board, to help save the United States. But he dug into this, and he's already interviewed people that are involved with this. And so I think that it is, even though it's contributions and the guy's one of the richest dudes in the world, it is something to question Graham's motives very clearly now.
Yeah, and we know from the Sam Patton charges that you can't just use a U.S. citizen straw man to make these donations and have it be legal.
Right, and that's what we've found a lot of fronts here, and this is only the part one of the report on Lindsey Graham, and we unfortunately have 20 more reports to get out before the elections coming up. Our next one being on Mike Pence.
Oh, good. You'll have to share that with us when it comes out. Now I'm wondering, since all this, Russian money started flowing in through graham crackers back in 2015, if at all of the points that he's come forward early on when Mueller was appointed and he was, with his rhetoric that there'd be hell to pay if Trump did anything to interfere with the investigation, but then he flipped around a little bit and is a super sycophant to Trump. But then again, recently he's been on the talk show circuit saying Mueller will be fair, et cetera. And I'm just wondering now if everything he's kind of said in the last 3 years that was to defend Mueller or against Trump was just a cover. It just sounds like a cover at that point. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think most of the people that are Republicans nowadays, it's all just a cover. I mean, it's just the same thing that they're doing with Kavanaugh, where they use the FBI report as cover, where it's doctored by them. They are the ones who choose the parameters of the report, and then they're like, this is what it found because this is what we wanted it to find. I think we're gonna see a lot of propaganda start to pipe up here between the next few weeks, especially no matter whatever happens with Kavanaugh. If he goes through, I think it's going to drown out a lot of that propaganda. If he's voted down, it's going to be harder because they're gonna amp it up to a level we have never seen before.
Yeah, I really think politically it's better for the left if he actually gets confirmed. And I know that sounds horrible, and I hate it, and everything sucks about it, but he is impeachable. He could be disbarred. He could be forced to resign. When the Dems get the gavels back in January 1, we can investigate. There could be indictments. I mean, there could be any number of issues, whereas if he's voted down and they put forward someone else from that Federalist list, or the Heritage Foundation list, whatever it is, Leo, I guess his name is that it? Those guys, like if they put one of these lady judges up and, she's just as conservative, she's just as much anti-choice against Roe, bad for unions, bad for labor, bad for the LGBTQ plus community, and there's nothing we can do about her. She'll be there forever. But at least with this POS, we might have a chance of fighting it or removing or anything like that. And like you said, if he's voted down, that could really motivate Republicans to come out to the polls in November.
Right, and we can make sure that no matter what happens, I think Democratic turnout is going to be huge. But if he does get through, I mean, you can rest assured, and I can give you my word that the investigation's not over. This is not over by any means, no matter where he goes, no matter what happens. And we are going to finish this, and we're going to also dig into, and Senator Whitehouse has made this pledge as well, We're also going to dig into what the Republicans were doing during this time, because we do believe that there was a concerted effort to cover up everything, obviously, for good reason. And we think that there's things that are in the files that prove that he has approval of torture, that he helped craft the entire engagement of torture as well, and his work and fraud that he committed in the Bush White House and afterwards. And obviously his years of misconduct, sexual and otherwise, and overall his candor and the way he acted. I mean, here's a question for you. Like, what would he not have to recuse himself from? Like, I can't think of a case where he'd actually be able to serve on it. Like, I just don't see. He kind of canceled that out by becoming Hannity's best friend and, talking like he's running a campaign. And
yeah, now that he's come forward saying that women clearly invented time machines to go back in time to have rape allegations so that we could come forward and it could be this whole thing where they just went back in time to do this and then entrap me, which is revenge for the Clintons. And that kind of political statement it borders on conspiracy theory, and it's certainly not fitting of a judge.
We need to add term limits to the seats, and then because it was lifetime appointments when lives were shorter. You know what I mean? Like, that made more sense. Now lives are too long, and it's just not tenable to do that. So I think we need to think about having term limits on Supreme Court justices, and then also to expand the bench and have more diverse bench that reflects America by adding seats to it. So, I mean, there's a lot of different things that people can try and do that I think have been long overlooked, that we need to look into. No matter what happens here, I do think that my guess is that Manchin's going to vote whatever way Collins goes, and my inkling is going to say that Collins is going to vote yes. And whether or not she does that or not, it's the bottom line is Manchin won't be the deciding vote.
He doesn't want to be. He
won't be. He's like, it'll be whatever. He's not going to be the guy who votes yes and gets him through.
Yeah, no, he's not going to. Yeah, exactly. It's going to be up to Collins. She'll be the deciding vote, whether she wants to be or not.
Yes, I'm not sure where she is. Well, I mean, she's on the Senate floor, but I'm not sure what the status is of any of it at this.
Let's listen.
To explain my vote on the nomination of a justice to the United States Supreme Court.
She's just going to go on and on defending him. This is just going to end up a yes vote for her. So it looks like Kavanaugh.
There's no way that she can turn and say, but.
Yeah, it's a little too late for that after all that. Yeah, I mean, she sounds like she's speaking for him in his own confirmation hearing right now.
Yeah, I look forward to her losing in 2020.
Oh, yeah, she's going to lose bad. They're going to hand over all that money to her opponent. All right, well, go get your documents on Kavanaugh and let me know what they say.
I will. Just keep on trudging through the mud. We will make it in the end, but it is going to be a long road, and I'm here for all of it, as you are, I know. Thank you, AG, for your diligence and all your work, man. I really appreciate you and everybody over there.
Yeah, we appreciate you too. Have a good one.
Cheers.
All right, you guys, that's our show. Remember to register to vote. The final day in a lot of states is October 9th. Also, if you're a mom, reach out to your local daycares and see if they'd be willing to volunteer to watch children while moms and dads go vote. Lyft will be giving you a free ride to your polling place. Tweet at Uber to make them do it too. And register now before it's too late. It's important. It's more important than ever that we take back Congress, I think, just if it's just to get Kavanaugh out of there.
That's something, yeah.
Yeah. Anything else you guys want to add?
Hey, stay safe, kids.
Hey.
No, really, it's school shootings out there. I feel like that's a big part of why I feel like a lot of my peers should vote. Is like a lot of them are younger and they're just now getting the right to vote. So I just want to find a way to like reach the younger demographic.
Yeah, there was a poll that says only 26% of eligible voters 18 to 29 plan on voting. 26%. It's the lowest it's the lowest age group.
We're 30 days away from the midterms. That's crazy.
I mean, it's really like a really hard dichotomy between things being really fucked up, but also disillusionment being at the highest I think it's been in decades and decades. So even though things are so fucked up, your feeling of efficacy, voter efficacy, is lower than it's been.
Don't give them what they want.
I'm old and white and privileged, and I don't have faith that the young people will come out and vote because they never have. So prove me wrong, shove it in my face. And those of you who are my age that are listening, get your kids registered, get your kids involved, get them to vote. Tell them if they want to get their driver's license, they're going to have to register to vote.
That's beautiful.
It's 18 now in a lot of states.
Yeah.
You have to. You want to drive? You're going to have to vote.
Nice.
Something, maybe hook it to their PlayStation and be like, look, you want your PlayStation? You got to vote. You want to have screen time? Got to vote. That's weird to do to 18-year-olds. I'm sorry. I have no concept
30-year-olds still living with their parents.
My work.
I have cats, Yeah. If whenever my cats turns 18, that's just a
you want
Book
that
of World Record
dead lizard?
right
You better vote.
Dude, your cat's brutal. It keeps killing lizards.
Yeah, dude, did I tell you about the squirrel?
No.
Dude, Bruce Willis killed a squirrel.
The size of a squirrel. How did that even happen?
Ass squirrel.
That's intense.
And now there's a squirrel who will perch up on the tree out back, and when he sees Bruce Willis in the doorway, looking like Jack Nicholson from The Shining, he makes this little squirrel noise.
Oh my god.
That is funny. That is great.
That's crazy.
That's more like it. It takes me a minute to get the impressions for squirrels right.
Yeah.
It's freaked. They're mad.
Yeah, that's insane.
It's like crows. You know how crows can hold a grudge? Mm-hmm. These squirrels are pissed.
Yeah, I mean, that's fair.
They're probably all Scorpios.
I did run out. I did pick up the Scorpios. I did pick up the cat, put him in his room. And then I grabbed the squirrel, put him in a box, took him to the vet because I didn't know what else to do.
Aww.
And the mama squirrel was up there. But he was in there like, he was
so
very sad.
sorry.
I don't know what happened to the squirrel because, I mean, they don't call you
just
until
dropped it off on the doorstep kind of thing.
I took it to the fire station because I couldn't raise it myself.
Oh, no.
Sorry. No, I took him to the
You did the right thing.
That's so sweet.
I'm like, I don't know what else to do with this squirrel. He couldn't walk.
Just wanted to get a nut.
He was still alive, though.
Oh, good.
Good, yeah.
But I don't know what happened to him.
Maybe they'll give him one of those like Lego chariots that they get to put their bottom half in.
Or squirrels covered by Obamacare.
I call them doggy scooters, but Lego chariots is great. That's really good.
Yeah.
Oh man,
it's adorable.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I
guys.
will. Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
Just really quick on the whole voting thing. On the whole basis of our democracy.
I was gonna say anyway. Vote. I've been AG. That was gonna be my ending.
Yeah. Perfect. Yeah. No. I was okay. The way that so. I studied political theory as a bachelor's, right? So I was like drunk half the time. But I must say, no, I'm just kidding. I worked very hard in school.
Well, then you deserved everything you got. Oh my god,
I like beer.
But like one of the biggest takeaways I think I got from that degree was essentially that things happen in cycles, which is not a novel concept. But the cycle will get violent and scary if you don't exercise the things that are put in place to keep it maintained and keep it having any sort of normalcy and functionality. So you can either vote now or you can wait for shit to just keep getting worse and worse and worse until some bigger, scarier, much more chaotic force starts to swing shit back, because it always swings back.
Yep. And you might not be a Bernie supporter at all, and that's totally fine if you think he was a Russia plant, but he did say something that is worth remembering. He's not going to fix anything. No politician is going to fix anything. It's up to us. It's up to the American people. You have to exercise your constitutional right to vote, your inherent right to vote. And if you do not, I will be very angry with you.
Yeah.
Really mad.
Yeah.
So and don't, please, young people, prove me wrong. At 18 to 29. Sorry. I know that some people are 29 and they're like, I'm so old. I can't go out anymore like I used to. I have to get home by 2 a.m. Otherwise, I won't be able to get up for work the next day. I'm kidding. I'm not making fun of 29-year-olds.
That's me.
It doesn't get better. Let me just say that. Please prove me wrong. Prove us all wrong.
Yeah.
Shove it in our face. I've been AG.
I've been Jaleesa Johnson.
I've been Jordan Coburn.
And this is Mueller, She Wrote. Mueller, She Wrote is produced and engineered by AG with editing and logo design by Jaleesa Johnson. Market consulting by Amanda Reeder at Unicorn Creative. Our digital media director and subscriber managers are Jordan Coburn and Sarah Hirschberger Valencia. Fact-checking and research by AG with support from Jaleesa Johnson and Jordan Coburn. Mueller, She Wrote staff includes AG, Jaleesa Johnson, Jordan Coburn, Sarah Hirschberger Valencia, Jesse Egan, and Sarah Lee Steiner. Our web design and branding are by Joelle Reeder with Moxie Design Studios, and our website is MuellerSheWrote.com.